Hey, my name is Misha and I am 8 years old. I am of the Mongol pastoralist group that travels around central China. My father tells me we move around and stay in an area only long enough to supply our needs before we leave so we don't deteriorate the land. I know what we do is good because we never abuse the land we inhabit. We live on and take care of our animals and stay secluded from other people. Every once in a while we run into a traveler, but rarely do we take what is not ours.
As I grow up in the tribal system, I begin to learn more and more about my job in the community. I am fortunate enough to follow around some of the older men and learn how I can make our community the best it can be. What I've learned so far is there is a lot of building. A lot. It is quite exhausting, actually. Every little thing we use in the community is handmade by the men. This can include anything war related, like bows and arrows to protect us, or even the everyday things we need to travel and survive, like saddles, stirrups, and bits for our horses or even our houses and carts. We also take care of the animals, but I like building the most. I actually can make the things we use in the everyday life. So cool! But given the fact that I am less experienced, I usually get stuck with the daily duties of caring for the animals.
At the end of the day, we get some time to relax, and I'm able to talk to my sister Alton. She is 11 years old, so she knows a little more of the way of life around the tribe. I question her daily about her duties to the tribe. It fascinates me about all that goes on during our daily lives to sustain such a simple yet complex society. She tells me they mostly drive the carts, make the food and the clothes. They also make the felt coverings for our homes to make sure we stay warm and dry. Being my curious self, I continuously pester her, asking questions about what it is like doing her duties. She tells me she mostly likes making the clothes. Jokingly, she will tell me that what she makes is more important than what I make. Every once in a while, I wonder if she's joking. Anyways, everything about our tribe fascinates me. It's our home, yet it is complex and interesting. Everyone has their own job, and it just works.
One of my favorite duties is working with the horses. Not just taking care of them, but training to become a good rider and an overall horseman as my father and the elders. I have seen some of the men in action, gracefully controlling the horse and shooting their arrows at the same time. I've mostly seen them riding to catch food, but I think to myself, if we ever did have some conflict with someone else, we would be able to defend ourselves. I'm still learning all of the techniques of riding, like the elders, but I would say I'm getting pretty good. All the children learn to ride practically before they can walk. I giggle at the little kids learning to ride. Many fall off, but almost before they hit the ground, they are ready to jump back up again and try. I admire their bravery until I remember that was me at some point in time, rolling through the dust until I could regain balance and try again. Not only is the ability of riders impressive, but our horses are some of the strongest in stamina. Those little guys seem like they could run for days. Good partner on the battlefield.
From day to day, everyone continues their duties, but one time my sister and I were taking a break and sat alongside a small road that my father told me led to a very big city. I see a man with a long beard, like a merchant in the caravan, make his way down the dusty road in the direction of the city. He seems lost and slightly panicked. He spots my sister and I and walks over. At first, I am a little scared by the man, but I do not run. He smiles as he nears us and stops to stand in front of us. He introduces himself as Vigerand, and he tells us that he is a merchant traveling from Kanzai, a very large city next to a river which pays an annual ballast to the Great Khan. He explains that he is in a hurry to get to Tachin, China. Tentatively, I explain to him that he must have taken a wrong turn because the city he was headed towards was not Tachin. He chuckles to himself, then tells us that he is to backtrack and find where he made his mistake. I glance towards the sky with a worried look because it's getting dark, and I worry for the merchant's safety on the roads. But he assures me that traveling the roads are very safe means during both night and day. I like the man, and I am not afraid to ask him about the places he has seen while selling his items. He seems pleased at the question, but instead of answering, he tells me about a man he once met in the marketplace who had really seen the world and all of its people. Vigerand, the man's name was Marco Polo, and that he traveled around tirelessly for the great Khan's court. The merchant left us with this story and began to walk down the road with his caravan.
Not long after the merchant left our presence was it time to move again. The weather was getting cool and crisp, a sight that it was time to move south, somewhere warmer so we did not freeze in our outdoor life. It seems to be the pattern of our tribe. The weather changes, and before I know it, we are heading to the safest place we can set up our camp. Sometimes we are even told to move before the weather changes. It is a pattern, as I am told. When the weather gets cooler, we move somewhere warmer, and as the hot summer heat rolls in, we move somewhere with cooler weather. It is so fascinating that we are able to recognize these patterns and move accordingly. When we make it to our new land, we set up our houses. That is the men's job, and I am thoroughly glad I am considered useful enough to help. Our yurts are made in a circular fashion, with rod-like sticks and a relatively high roof. They are enclosed in the felt made by the women for insulation. Sometimes we will cover them with lime or white clay, but not always. These yurts are easy to move and easy to build, perfect home for our people of our lifestyle.
One day I was tending for all of our animals when I see a tall man walking through our camp. He doesn't seem dangerous or harmful, but instead seems merely curious. I feel a surge of bravery and decide to ask him what he is doing and why he is here. The man turns to me and instead of answering my question, asks me how long we usually stay in one place and what types of animals do we tend to. Without letting me answer, he continues to ask about things like how we make our homes and where we get our water. I am surprised by the man and his curiosity in my small tribe. He smiles and apologizes, saying that he tends to ramble and ask too many questions too quickly. He introduces himself as Marco Polo, and I immediately recognize the name from the story the merchant my sister and I met told us. I inquired about his travels and the places and people he had encountered. He was more than happy to answer, that is, after I informed him on everything about my small settlement. Marco Polo told me about his adventures to places like Cathay, Acre, and Shangdu, where the Great Khan's summer palace is. He seemed so interested in my village, and I asked him why he thought we pastoralists were so special. He replied saying that we were self-sufficient, knowledgeable of our land, and we tend carefully to our animals, introducing that a peaceful and rural society can be successful.
One horrible day I was doing my daily duties when I heard a very high-pitched scream. Things like "No!" and "Why him? Why not someone here?" came screaming out of the yurt. Wait, it was my family's yurt. Oh no, what was happening? In the midst of taking care of the tribe's animals, dropping my bucket of milk, I run towards the screams. Bursting into the room, I see my sister throwing a fit on the floor. Glares come from my mother, father, and sister. "This is none of your business," says my father, obviously excusing me from the conversation. "What is going on?" I press further. "Please leave," says my mother, until my sister joins in, saying I can stay. "This is a family matter," she insists. My curiosity expands greatly as my family holds off the information. "Your sister will be leaving us," my father says curtly. "What? Leaving us? What is he talking about?" Almost answering my bewilderment. Immediately my mother tells me how it is time for my sister to marry and make a life of her own. They had arranged for her to marry a man well off from another tribe nearby called the Pechenegs. The arrangement will occur almost immediately as we are close enough to the tribe for us to meet with this mysterious man. The next morning we head out of camp to deliver my sister to this oh-so-great man. When we reach an intersection of two dreary dirt roads, we see a man walking towards us. I only assume it is the man my sister is leaving us for. And of course, I am right. We say our goodbyes, and Otlin walks away with her new family to her unknown future. Reluctantly, it looks like. Not long after Atlan left us, my tribe encountered a man by the name of John of Monte Corvino, who claimed to be a Catholic missionary. He talked to some of the elders in our group in some of our yurts. When they came out, I noticed that the missionary looked disappointed, and that the elders looked fairly exasperated. The strange man in robes grabbed his things and began to walk in my direction in the fields. As he passed me by, he dropped a necklace with an odd symbol on the ground. I dropped my tools and ran to pick it up. I called after the man, alerting him that he had dropped it. He came back and generously thanked me, saying that it was in fact very important to him. I asked him what the symbol was, and he told me it was a cross. He seemed to like me and decided to ask if I knew which direction to go in to get to a city called Chanbalik. I had heard stories about the ancient city where the Great Khan's summer palace is, and was able to point John in the general direction. I asked John why he was headed to the city, and he told me that he was doing the same thing he was doing here, spreading Catholicism. The missionary went on his way. As the years passed and I grew older, I never did forget Marco Polo and the merchant Otlin and I met. Nor did I forget the friar that passed through our camp one day shortly after Otlin left us. I traveled with the tribe, moving wherever the weather and our animals sent us. I did get married eventually, a young woman whose humor reminded me of my very own sister's. I missed her.
As the days went on, every once in a while I would remember her, her smile, her laugh, her smiling face every day when she woke up for the daily chores. Our day One day our tribe was moving locations for the summer when we came across another tribe moving in the same direction. There was a woman with the son sitting on the side of the road taking a break from the long hike. She looked familiar. Beautiful smile and that glow about her. When she looked up, I almost gasped. It was Otland! At last! After all these years, I finally found my sister. I could ask her all the things that have happened since I last saw her. She saw me and jumped up, bringing her son with her, and ran over to say hi. For the next couple hours I questioned her, wondering what her life had been like since she left us. It was the best couple of hours of my life until we had to part. She turned around one last time to wave goodbye, and I waved, choking back tears, wondering when the next time I would be so lucky as to see her again.